Now I'd like to turn to start tonight's show with Greg Cassidy talking about the HO kit building of the MoTrack station. So Greg, welcome.
Thank you, Jim. Well, welcome everyone. Tonight is going to be the end of the 4-scale build along that's been going on for a while. This will be my last presentation on it, and it will be part 5, which was covering the final product and all the details. When we started this build, we decided that we didn't want to build them all the same because that wouldn't show very much of what can be done in different scales. So I decided to build mine as a depot that was along an abandoned rail line converted to a rail trail. So the depot became a coffee shop. And because I know he likes coffee, it's named after my good friend, Bob Farquhar. While I was still doing the structure building, I printed out some signs, some I made and some I downloaded to test fit them and see where I wanted to put them on the building. One of the things I knew that I was going to want was a ramp leading up to it so that the customers would have a way of getting up on top of the platform. So I used some scribe siding and some planking that I had and measured out what would be appropriate. I used my little friend down here who I always have with me. So I added some wood supports, I stained the wood and then glued the decking on, and I glued it onto the platform. Now for customer safety, I would need railings around the platform. So I drilled some holes for tissue railings. Building in O scale allowed me a wide selection of products, or HO scale, I'm sorry. You have a wide selection of products to choose from. I cut the railings and glued them on, and then I glued the depot onto the platform. Now the kit comes with 2 sets of posts, but I left the second set off at the very end. The way I had mine set up, it didn't look like it needed them and it would impact on the customer flow. I also added some tissue lights onto it and under the canopy so the customers wouldn't be drinking in the dark. And if you have lights, you're going to need electric meters. These meters are from Shapeways. And I built the steps that came with the kit, but I only needed to build 1 set of them for one end. I braced them since they were going to be stained, and I added a gluing block for attaching them onto the platform. I also prepared the railings that came with the kit, but I didn't add them. They're very delicate, and I was afraid that the last steps was going to possibly pop one off, so I waited to attach them. I also needed somewhere for the customers to sit, so I made a picnic table from some scale structure legs that I had laying around. I cut and stained some 1x6 strip wood. Then I painted the legs to look like wood, and I had to make a little jig to put all of the boards onto it. I've since then gotten some picnic table kits from MoTrack and from Mini Print, so I won't have to do this again. And I used some artist pigments for weathering the building. I also sometimes use chalks and some alcohol washes and pastels like other people, but I've really taken to artist pigments for weathering stuff. They can be found in a number of hobby shops or art supply places. Then I added the stair railings and started to put on the details, but I wasn't done with this build yet. I cut out a platform from foam core, painted the edge of it. Then I mixed up some acrylic paints into an AK terrain and applied it after masking out a couple of areas for the building and for the rail trail. I used some AK asphalt for the rail trail, and then I used some concrete for the parking lot. Then I added some gravel around it and some Martin Welberg foliage. To get this patch look on the concrete, I put down one layer and then sanded it some and then added some patches on top of it. Then I added some details to the parking lot and the rails trail, a milepost marker and some planks for the parking lot. Then I used more artist pigments to weather the base and the asphalt and the concrete. And then I just added a couple final details. And this was the conclusion of Bob's Depot Coffee. I do have some bicycles and a bicycle rack that I've just gotten from Mini Prints that I'll be adding on, because you know people love to ride bicycles on a rail trail.